Hello my loves, welcome back to Zeke's Lunchbox. Today I'm going to show you my 3 techniques for blending acrylic paint. I've gotten a lot of requests to make a blending video. I've made a couple of videos about painting techniques, but I don't think that they were really thorough. And I think breaking it down to 3 techniques is really gonna be the easiest way for me to explain my whole painting routine. So all the materials that I will be using today will be linked in the description box below. The paint and brushes and palettes and just everything that I use as the stuff that I use for all my professional stuff and all my final pieces. So it's all tried and tested. I only use one kind of paint, and I think that's definitely the key to getting really good blends in your paint. I also have a couple of other videos kind of discussing my acrylic painting tips. So I've got like a kind of general painting tips video that I'll have linked below, and I also have painting hair tips and painting skin tips video below as well. With that being said, let's get into it. And here are my 3 techniques for how to blend acrylic paint. Okay, technique number 1, wet on wet. I really hate all of the names of these techniques, so just FYI, but at least wet on wet is memorable. So wet on wet means laying down a wet paint and another wet paint and blending them together. So I am using a phthalo blue today. I hate that name. All of these techniques, just FYI, none of these are gonna look amazing on the first layer. That's just the way it is when it comes to acrylic paint. So if you're like, why doesn't it look good straight away? It's gonna take a couple of layers. Just gonna lay down these 2 blocks here. What I do, I like to do like little circles, just using the same flat brush. I like to do little circles there. And then I like to do a little stripy motion. I like to do a stripy motion on either side. That kind of helps to make the seams a little bit more seamless. I also have a rag that I'm constantly wiping the excess paint off of. That just helps blend things a little bit more seamlessly. So as you can see here, that's layer number 1. Blends really quickly, but you're not gonna get really high pigment straight off the bat, to be quite honest. It's gonna take a couple of layers to get that down, but wet on wet is good for just that initial blend that you wanna lay down your foundations for. That's normally the technique that I use when I'm putting colors down. I mostly use this technique here for backgrounds, so it is good for, you know, painting backgrounds if you just want to lay a lot of color down really quickly. Technique number 2, wet on dry. So I'm going to lay down a block of blue here, and I'll have to wait for it to dry. But let's lay down this blue. When I'm laying down colors, another quick power tip is I like to do little stripy motions, and then I like to cross hatch it the other way as well. That kind of gets your paint down a little bit more seamlessly. If you don't want many brush strokes in your pieces, you want to lay down the foundation pretty seamlessly there. All right, let's wait for that to dry. Okay, so that's dry enough. It's not super dry, but it'll do for our purposes. So put your wet paint, your new wet paint on top. I've made mine a little bit more dry, my wet paint. I know, a bit confusing. Just because I find this really helps to kind of like dusting on the lighter color. That kind of helps with that more smooth, dusty, nice gradient blend. I recommend this kind of wet on dry, but a kind of dry brush for things like dust or clouds. Here's another example of a painting that I'm currently working on. I usually use this technique for kind of hazy things like clouds or dust. So with the wet on dry category, we've got the more dry version, which is good for dusting. And then we're gonna do a more wet version. So you want to like load up your brush a little bit more and wet it with some water. Plop that down with some stripy motions. Wash my brush, wipe it clean, and then I'm going to do some more stripy motions to kind of blend that out. Wash it up again just to try and smooth this area out a tiny bit more. Again, I'm gonna keep saying this, but this is layer 1. The pigment's not gonna be that amazing with layer number 1. You are going to want several layers to get this blend really rich and thick, and that way you don't see all of the colors underneath. So that is 2 ways of how to use wet on dry. All right, so the last technique I'm going to show you today on how to blend, or how I blend acrylic paints, is one color glazing or one color blending. So you want to lay down your paint again with these strappy motions, and say you want to blend it out to one side here. So you can use a medium to dull out your colors, but I'm just using water. This is on paper, and I would still use this technique on acrylic as well. But I'm just blending it out with water and kind of diffusing it from one side to the other. So you can see that sometimes, like when I initially paint, I'm doing like short little motions, and then I'll do little stripies. Little stripies. So where you would use this technique, I would use this one maybe on some skin tones when I'm adding like a highlight to a nose or something. Or I think when I would mostly use this technique when I'm adding like a highlight to something and I just want to diffuse it into something I've already painted. That's probably where I would use that technique the most. A quick one today. Hopefully these 3 techniques, you guys can use them now, and that helps to demystify how to blend acrylics. Okay, so to sum it up, here is wet on wet, and I'll just pop some examples of where I've used wet on wet in some final pieces. Here are the 2 variations of wet on dry. So we've got the more dry, wet on dry version at the top, and then the more wetter version. So you can see they do have pretty similar blends, but one's just a little bit more textural than the other, just because of the dryness in the paint gives it a little bit more texture. The final technique here is one color glazing or one color blending. I use this technique mostly as a topper for pieces, so highlights or bounce lights. Those are the main examples that I can think of right now. Hello everyone, I didn't record an outro because I'm a professional. So I just want to say thanks for watching, and I hope that you learned something from it. If you still have any questions or I didn't really explain it very well, please be sure to put it in the comments below and I'll answer any of your blending questions. If you want more videos like this, let me know. If you want something a little bit more in depth about a technique, or I don't know, something a little bit more step by step, let me know as well, and I'll be sure to make that for you. I will catch you guys in the next one. Thank you so much for watching. Catch you later. Bye! Hello everybody, welcome to the end credits. This week's art is by Rose Gush. I absolutely love all the pastels and how kawaii it all is. If you guys want to be featured in one of my videos, make sure you hashtag your art as inspired by Zeke, and I will like your picture and possibly feature it in my videos. I'll see you guys next time. Bye!